Alright, let's go. We're going to have a game in the NWL dictionary against Wanderer15, or Will Anderson, who is actually a very regular streamer of this game as well, and one of the best players in North America. I will be going second in this round, and it is going to be in the NWL dictionary, which I'm a little bit more comfortable in, but which is also my opponent's main dictionary as well. He's won a couple of very notable championships in his lexicon before. And so it will be a learning experience. We'll see how we do against him. So in terms of my first rack here, the priorities will be to do something about some of the uglier letters like the V and the U. VUG is a word, so it's VUGH. We'd be looking for some places to drop those here and there. Of course, having a V play like that very early on in this game is going to block up a certain corner of the board if that is indeed what happens. We don't know if that's what's going to happen because currently I do need to await my opponent's first play just to see how things are going to work out. Let's put up the notepad just in case we need it. And just in case we need to demonstrate anything. And given that we have a bit of a late start for the first game, I likely will not be able to have time to step through it at the end right away, but if it turns out to be an interesting one, then we can always go through it at the end. So here's Neil. One thing you'll notice is that this idea that I originally had of playing something like VUGH somewhere or VUG somewhere is not going to work out because we don't have a spot. One thing we could look at is something like the ING combination here, for instance, if we just have some way to get rid of the V. We could do a little play like this that really blocks up the board. It might not be the best idea. And let's see if we can just find something else that's going to open up a little bit better. Possibly not. I mean, we have the S, so even if we kind of block everything up like this, we do have a potential way out once we get into the next turn. But that's probably not a great play. You know, can always just dump a little bit more, open up a little further. I don't really like that. Let's just go with this. Blocks up like crazy. Okay, this is close to something. I think we might potentially have something through the N, but I'm not exactly sure. Depending on which other tiles come down on the board, we might have something else to look at as well. You know, like housiest or something. OUT start is always good to look at. You can see that we have outshine. We can get that down to the notepad, in fact, just to note that we've seen it. I think that's unlikely to remain open, since for anybody who's not spending an S right away, or perhaps an A for Vega, this is likely going to be where the board goes next. And yeah, indeed, that's going to get blocked off pretty quickly, and the outshine idea is unavailable. What we could do instead now is think about how to extend anything else further. We currently don't really have the right kind of words to, or letters rather, to make an H play down here. We could make something like an H play down here. And Truthmain, welcome. Good to see you here. We had Will come in at the last minute to fill in a spot in this club today, and so Very grateful to him for doing so on extremely short notice. We just had our spot for Outshine blocked off. And currently just trying to get out of this thing. We don't have anything for Shout here. We should look at... I don't know about this. Still keeping the U like that. I'm not really too fond of that. But yeah, we do play both lexicons in this particular group. I'm much more dominant in NWL in terms of my own level of comfort, but, you know, this is really the only way you're going to learn, so... Going to be looking for various places to play a Pew or Patui or something that just gets rid of some of this stuff. But currently, the board is not going to be that convenient for us. And so yeah, let's see what happens. So yeah, Truthbane, hopefully you're doing well. You see that you've really been climbing in terms of the Woogles rating lately. And reaching a couple of those benchmarks on stream. Yeah, not really too keen on my various options right now in terms of what we're going to be doing next. We really just need to see what's going to happen from here. Yeah, I have no idea what an accurate read on my own Woogles rating is, since I haven't really just been playing very many random pickup matches in recent weeks. And so I don't really have enough of a sample size to work with. But I'm also not really finding matches by rating either, because it's usually just by arrangement with people I know, and so... yeah, this is a sticky situation. I'm not keen on this. I mean, we can always just extend a little further. That's not very many points, but we start to at least create a little bit of space, not much. Don't really want to spend E on anything under the W. Yeah, this is not great, but we really need to start creating space to get out of the V and G lock over here. So I think we should actually just stretch a little bit and see if we can actually create some options. I probably missed something much better there, but knows about that. Okay. We have a change. What's my tournament rating? It's about 1,500 or so, I think, but that also hadn't really stabilized since I'd come back to the tournament game after a really long absence. And... but given the matches I was getting, you know, with people whose tournament ratings tend to be in the sort of 1,400 to 1,600 zone, that's probably about right, like, in terms of win rate. Being kind of around 50% for a lot of those cases. Let's see here. I'm kind of tempted to just go down here with something with the J, but yeah, I might as well just try to get out of this situation. But you know, we'd be looking at something like that leaves 3 vowels, not great. That spends all the E's, also not great. But I think I need to, once again, just make some space here. One other thing we should consider is just to stretch out and keep the J. Probably not doing something like this. Although, you never know, because we might have the tiles to follow up on it, but... I actually like that better, because we'll retain the option to use the J elsewhere or for a better purpose as we go. I mean, now we have very similar options. But yeah, since over-the-board tournaments have kind of been on a hold since the pandemic, oddly enough, I've been playing a lot more, but I've not really been doing much in the way of actually grinding out the word studies, so I think it's going to have an interesting effect on, you know, what has strengthened and what has atrophied in the interim. I did actually play Over the Board again for the first time in a really long time last week, since I'm currently in a city with a different club, and they are on a different reopening pace, and that has actually been working out for the time being. Okay, let's see here. Not really looking at anything down here. Let's see if we can actually do anything here, just given how things are closing up. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't really have much that I can do here with the J. I mean, it seems really silly to just be doing small plays, but I'm just trying to see if we have a better way to do that. Because we're really starting to fall behind quite a bit, and as you can see, now this series of plays here is closing off a lot of the options for doing any kind of S-hook. So, let's see, could always just go up here with a small play, probably not going to reach all the way here, just taking a look at this quickly to see if that is in fact correct. Yeah, let's not burn too much time on this. I'm just in a bit of a sticky situation right now. And okay, interesting time to be picking up the Q, given that we're really kind of locking down, and that's the issue, that the S is now suddenly much less useful. Likely just going to dump QI somewhere here. I mean, that does open up the I parallels in the bottom row, but that may be the best we can do for now, just to get out of trouble. The I parallels in the bottom row may be much less of an issue if we just maybe even dump the S on top of that for an extra 10-point dessert, given that the S isn't that useful right now, but I don't know if that's the right way to think about that in terms of its current value on the board. Also looking at various places that we can go with the J still, but I think we're just making these small plays here that are not taking me very far. One interesting consideration would be something like Aji's. I mean, the A in that position is pretty dangerous. The Q actually would be stuck with the E. Nah, let's not do that. Let's just go QI or QIS. Keeping the S would allow me to stretch from the BI. No, I think we're actually just going to spend that for 10. Just because the S is not really helping me on this board. Now that we have T, we have a couple more options to do some things like Taj. Even accounting for how that leaves the J open next to the double, and so you'd be giving back pretty much what you're putting in. But something like Taj actually looks pretty decent right now. just in terms of getting rebalanced and just opening up again. And let's see what we can do with that. Yeah, this corner is starting to get locked down quite a bit, of course, unless you start to find things that are going to go down to the K. So that's something that we're keeping an eye on, any 5s to the K. But yeah, this sort of step ladder formation here and the lack of options that will kind of draw down to the X. This is becoming an issue because the whole top right now is pretty much locked out. So we're going to have a pretty closed up board here for the time being until there's some kind of breakout. Something like Taj would create the conditions for a big play to open up. Right now, though, one of the issues is that I'm, as you can see, not really turning over that many tiles. We've just been making these tiny plays everywhere, starting from the VG at the very beginning of the game. And so not a lot of motion here. And of course, it's a bit of a race to the eye for this spot, in case anything useful can happen there. Yeah, but we'll see what happens. It's likely first choice Taj, but who knows where my opponent is going to go here, given that we only have so many spots to work with in total. So yeah, just going to wait to see how this turn goes. In the meantime, looking ahead, both blanks are still unaccounted for. And my opponent's turnover has really been kind of gentle as well. That Will is also kind of going into this expecting to play into some pretty close positions and isn't really opening up either. A lot of these plays were knowingly locking off, the Dexy play here in particular. So, don't know how much we can read into that at the time being, but the fact that you still have like SSS blank blank available tells me that you can very suddenly have a very volatile breakout if the lanes start opening up. But right now, this entire top right is just locked down. And that was a risk that we knew about ever since this. Wow, that's actually a very long turn for something that's a big play there, 52 points. It does make me wonder what else he was looking at to actually be worth that much consideration. We've got to go Taj. We don't have much of a choice here. And yeah, that's going to open up like crazy. S is the only thing that's going to go here in this lexicon. In Collins, IT also takes the A at the end, but here we don't have the O, so we won't have any parallels down here by ourselves. I'm kind of surprised that that took so much consideration, because I really wonder now what else he was looking at to really just be worth that much of a look. One thing that I am looking at here would be, whoops, job. It does dump the P down in that triple there, but it denies any parallels on a J, and right now I think I need that to open. I mean, you know, given a player of Will's caliber, who knows if we'll just get tripled here, but I need to keep pace, and this seems like it's the only real way to do it unless we have a vowel-heavy play that goes down to the K, so I think we have to do it. Okay. Well, we'll see. I mean, given that Will is quite some ways ahead, he does have a pretty clear incentive to just lock this down again quickly. This, however, is dangling in front of us now. And there's quite a lot that could make use of it sooner rather than later. In terms of what I would be looking at doing, well, let's see. We've got Flick over there. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at anything else that's going to go down here. One thing that we could consider is something like just aha. The UH does kind of cut off any parallels off the P at the very bottom. Other than that, I would be looking at... I don't think I have anything that's going to stretch all the way down here, at least not that I can see. And so I'm going to see if I can have any plays that would actually maybe open up some space on that dangerous lane next to the dribble. I think we're going to go aha, actually. I mean, I don't know if I want to spend both of those vowels there. Maybe we keep an A for balancing purposes, given that that's just the extra 2 points there. Not really liking most of my options. Yeah, ideally I'd like to do something about that G, but... So ha or aha. Let's just go... I mean, we could try to draw into the bag for blanks, S's, etc., but I think constant vowel balance is something we should be thinking about as well. Nah, let's just do it. And there we go. Linger, slinger, whatever else is in there. Flingers. Flingers I think should be good. So I think we have something next turn. And yeah, just see if we have anything else that I should be looking at. I wouldn't be 100% about flingers. It sounds good, but you just never know about that stuff. Neither of these lanes are particularly high scoring. Nor do they open up very much. You'll notice that, you know, the spots don't exactly work well with the bonus square. Adverts is going to go down. Okay, so that's just going to block that off. We just go flingers, and Will would know 100% if this is good or not. We just have to try it. I don't think there's any sense in dwelling on it. And we're going to find out very quickly, I think. For sure he challenges if we are making it up. Now here, for the sake of constant vowel balance, I'm probably just going to go det there if I can. Has a very nice leave coming out of that. Even though, as you can see from the way that some of these corners are being drawn, that lanes are closing up quickly. V really locks down anything from going down there. So usually you'd be looking at something with the B in front, like beat. But depending on balance, it is a vowel-heavy bag. That's one thing that we should be aware of right now. Tons of O's in particular. Lots of duplication. We'd be looking at either det or beat, and they're going to score pretty much the same, so... That's assuming that remains open, which it might not, given that this is the biggest hotspot right now. And okay, it is going to remain open. Let's see if there's going to be anything through the O, first of all. Just checking a lot of the usual stuff, like ED, EST. I think our best bet here is to open lanes. There's only one A left in the bag, so the A has a certain amount of value here, in terms of just flexibility on our rack. I think we go det, And then we have 2 lanes open, blank still unseen. Okay, trying to remember if this has anything through the O. By itself, you get some stuff like a faintest. And then there are some other things that I see that might go through. Manifest. We have Manifest from the M. I don't know if there's anything in Manifest that would stretch the other way in case right side gets blocked off. And Monorans is going to go down. That's going to get blocked. Okay. Let's look at the TION ending in case we have anything here. I don't think so. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Would have been something like fantasy through an A. We didn't have a whole bunch of stuff through an like Infantes through an N. I don't think we have anything that's going to fit with the R though. So it's either O or T. We may be in a fair bit of trouble here. 4 tiles left in the bag. One thing that would have been worth considering is just, given the rack that we have, just fishing 1 somewhere, but I don't have a way to do that that would open up lanes. Because the only way that you can open up lanes is by playing off, say, 1 tile around this area. Maybe 2 tiles. And keeping 1 lane open here, 1 lane open around that area. A very, very vowel heavy bag. That's something to keep in mind. Because the issue that I'm looking at here is if we do something like a 1 vowel play, you know, if we put E there, which would take T in front, S in front, and wouldn't go with faintest even if we drew it, even if we drew a replacement E. Let's think about this a little more carefully, because I feel like playing off 1 or playing off 2 is not the worst idea. Something like a bingo out would potentially get me within range of a win, although it would be difficult given that the whole pool, except for the M, is just 1 pointers at this point. We don't get much off of the opponent rack at the end. Okay. Yeah, still looking at the O here in case we add anything. I don't think so. A Tony's plus F. I don't think there is anything that fits. But we should look at this a little more carefully. I don't think there's anything there. I feel like that's a common enough rack that I would be able to recognize it if so. And yeah, very tough spot. So let's say I'm going to play something like 1 tile to extend a lane over here, right here. Then what tile is that going to be? Is it going to be EL? Is it going to be AL? Is it going to be AI? Which barely takes anything in front, except for the R, which doesn't help me because we wouldn't have a 7 if we drew into that, I don't think. Oh, no, we would have Snifter, but Snifter wouldn't fit RAI there. AL, barely anything goes in front within the remaining pool, so I think we need to rule that out. EL, if we have faintest, it would go in front of EL. I think he would spot that pretty instantly. So we need to think about like whether there is something here that would potentially threaten a second bingo. Because I think he's going to know immediately that this has to be blocked. And it's pretty easy to obstruct that in such a way that we don't have a 7 lane remaining. I think we just have to do it, though. Okay, so... drew the O. And yeah, that's a nice way to deal with that, actually. Parallel with the M, nothing goes in front, I don't think, apart from H, and that's not available. And so that actually closes off really nicely and leaves 1 in the bag. 1 in the bag is going to be a bit of a terrible situation for us here. Also notice that this blocks like crazy. So we're in big trouble. I mean, this is probably a lost position at this point, given that even a fish 1 plus a bingo out is not really going to get me over the line with any of the lanes that could potentially be created. So I think we probably just have to accept that. Unless I see any other options that would be available to here. Yeah, I think we might just have to take it. Oh, you know what? There's something that I hadn't considered all this time, which is any kind of long shot through the Y. But I don't think that's going to go. So let's say we have something like tapas, that's 24. We have something like ARF, which is 23 and gets rid of some of that stuff. Okay. Do I still have a good place for the F if I play there instead? I don't know if I do. But we can see what we draw into. Let's just... I mean, this is at least... at this point, we're just taking a loss and playing for spread after that turn. But let's just see if we can be defeated gracefully here. And yeah, just looking at things that can go through the PA. I mean, you know, something like that, or something like spat, or... I'm trying to look for something that would use a few more of these tiles, of course. And we'll see. But yeah, I mean, the game was pretty much lost after Elm. And that's just how that's going to go. Yeah, and of course, being hit by monorens instead of manifest. I mean, with a rack like that, this ONERA blank S, he had tons of options, so it was a matter of picking the right lane that would create the most difficulty for me, and I think this was probably the right choice, given that V was already obstructing down here. Here, you would restrict to plays that would be going through the O. You would also be taking out the M as something that would score, the only thing that would score on the triple. And so as soon as we lost the ability to play Manifester, unless I had some kind of alternative that I didn't see, that was pretty much done. Is P-switch a valid word? I really wish it were. because then you can play the sound effect and everything. Okay, so that's going to be outre, and then I think we just find something through here. And I'm just trying to think about what that's going to be, given that we have very few options over here. And yeah, probably just something like who passed. I think it's actually good. I always get some of those confused because it's not a plural of something singular, it's just a word by itself. Probably not the best play there, but we'll take it. And yeah, Grokowski, I hope you're doing well. We had a bit of a pairing mishap for my first round, and so we had somebody come in and pinch hit for us. So my opponent here is actually one of the best players in North America. He's a former North American champion, as well as the one of the better streamers of this game, in fact. One of the foundational streamers of the Scrabble scene, and I'll actually link his channel. His channel also has cats, by the way. And, okay, so we passed the final turn here. So there's actually one interesting thing that came up in this game. Yid is actually no longer valid in a dictionary. It was removed last year, and both of us forgot. Like from the North American dictionary, they had a purge of a lot of things that were considered things like racial slurs. And so I placed Yid without even thinking about it because we've been playing with the previous edition for so long. And my opponent here, who is like one of the best players in North America, just didn't even pick up on it at all. So yeah, pretty clear what went on here. I mean, once Monorans went down and Manifest got blocked, I pretty much lost. Hey, Grokowski, there's actually a command you can try. So this crypto command finds cryptographic rotations that have the same repetition. So, for example, in your name, you would have the K in 4th position and in 2nd last position. And so it would be finding words that have the equivalent patterns of duplication. So, for example, if you decided to go crypto on balloon or something, then you would see a whole bunch of things that are like that. So we've got pairings coming up for the next round pretty much right away because we had a late start. So I won't have a chance to look over this board just yet, but we'll come back to this one at the end. And currently I'm just waiting to see who my opponent's going to be. And yeah, it's going to be one of the other top players in this group that's also in this dictionary, and we'll just back out and get into that in just a moment. I do want to take a look at this very, very quickly just to see any misses. We'll look through it tactically later on. Right now I'm just seeing what I missed, if anything. Yeah, we got flingers, debt. Oh my goodness, I missed faintest. That would have been low scoring enough that it would not have gotten me over the line, but that's a huge miss of something really easy to see, given that I was already looking at faintest. Alright, let's continue. Second game here is going to be once again in the North American dictionary. Let's go. So I will be going first in this one. I should get rid of some of this stuff if I can. First thing I'll look at is whether we have any kind of 5-letter play that would allow me to use the F or the V in a good position. Failing that, we're just probably going to play something like 5. We'll play it here because I have the R to make 5er at the very end. If we have something like a T to play through, we would have Arietas. We might have some other stuff, but the double R and the double A does kind of get in the way. And yeah, we'll see if there's anything else that comes up that would make this useful. But in the meantime, we'll just be trying to do some unduplication and just get things back into a playable position. Might just... Oh, okay. He's going to give me that. No T, however, for Arietas that we had in mind. Also really vowel heavy on my opponent. You'll see he played off 4 vowels at once. Also take the 5er spot that I was thinking about. And yeah, Grakowski, you have a good knight over there. Okay, let's see what we can do over here. Probably just do something like air. That might be best. It would kill off anything like AX on the U spot. And open up a bit. 12 points, not much, but we're kind of balancing at this point. There's only one 7-letter word in here, and that's Olestra. I think there are a couple of other things that will fit through the other tiles on the board. Trying to see if there's anything through the V or the F. Forestal is through the F. Through the V, I'm not exactly sure. It's we'll take a little bit of looking here. I think there is something, but I don't see it right away. Very likely what's going on is that we will play Olestra, though. Olestra can go down a couple of places. No, the only place right now, let's see. The only place right now would be with the S down here. It does open up the possibility of another hook on Olestra afterwards. Oh, what? Okay, that's fine. Let's see. I think we can just do it. The A is in a dangerous spot, but we'll first of all also take a look at whether maybe there was anything with the SH. In case there is something that would make a really nice little SH corner there. But I don't think so. Oh, also we have Isolator. I think Isolator where that spelling is good. I'm trying to think because this is a common enough rec that I should know if there is something. I think it might actually not be. It looks weird to me. And it feels like it's one of those things that's like sort of famously not good. Because wouldn't it be like Isolator with OR at the end or something like that? I think it is with the OR, so let's be careful there. So yeah, we've got a couple of interesting options. Forestal 63, I think Olestra is definitely to play as long as we don't get massively whacked on the A down here, which is the main issue with this position. Because when you have a vowel right beside this double triple combo, you mean you create the situation where this tile with the double is likely going to be worth ×6. And you also create a situation where you might have just a ×9 on the whole word there if your opponent knows how to find that stuff, which people of this caliber absolutely do. So we'll see what we can do. We're really heavy on vowels right now, so we'd be looking at plays that start to work on that and reduce the vowel count that we're working with. Something like this, plural of abacus, would be interesting. It leaves 3 vowels, but at least you're scoring and drawing into the bag. I would not really be comfortable with keeping OEE there, but we'll see if we can make that worthwhile. If it's significantly higher scoring than the nearest play, then we'll do it and just try to draw a more balanced rack as we go. Depends a lot on what my opponent's doing. He might be taking his time to search. Might also be considering a block if he doesn't have anything very good to take advantage of that. A lot of things can happen right now. This board is much more open than the last one. Notice that this location here is potentially really good for a C because you can make chair. The issue is that right now I don't have a good way to actually use that. I don't have something ending with C. We can consider keeping C to do something there and just play through here with, you know, something with the B. Like play this and then try to draw into a C ending, like an IC ending. So 22 there, but you have 36 there, keeps some lanes open. This is still dangerous. We lose the C over here. I'm keeping EEO versus this. It's a 15-point sacrifice. I don't know about that. Same idea here, very close. It's hard to get something to land on that C as an ending, so I don't know if I should try too hard to draw towards that. I think I'm much more comfortable doing this. Just to diffuse that spot and also keep ease to use this spot if it does, in fact, remain open. So yeah, we'll see what else we can do here. And yeah, right now, just waiting to see what the response is going to be. Don't really have anything good here right now that would drop the Y on the final spot. However, the E... let's see. Trying to see if there's something else that we can do there. Okay, Zins is going to go down. We don't have an A to do anything under the Z, so that's going to remain dangerous. Yeah, something down here would score, but not very well. One thing I'm thinking about is something like Ogle down here. Hung, I believe, is good, and it also takes an I at the end. 26. Might be one of the better options here, actually. And now we have a C again, and it will be the second and last C, apart from blanks, of course, which means that we should actually consider keeping it if we can see something interesting to draw towards in that position. We shouldn't try too hard for that, but it is worth considering. We also have the A now, which is great because it means that we can start playing down here. And we have a couple of options here. We have, whoops, wrong position here. We have Something like this for 37. Probably the best we can do there, actually. Yeah, so 37-point play down here with Kate. Notice how dangerous this lane looks, by the way. A lot of stuff will go behind OS. Now, Kate would spend a C, so we'd lose the C idea up here, but we're not really that close to getting something with a C ending yet, as far as I can see. So, we'll look at that. Okay, X, we don't have vowels that are going to go next to the X. You need an I or a U to start there. I think we just play this, and that's going to be really quite clear. Okay, we have the blank now. Should actually take a look at this to see if there is going to be something that will hit really hard, but having the J and the Y there isn't great. It does restrict our options a bit. So we might actually just want to play JY here. J next turn. Nyx has restricted this lane, so this lane is no longer really available. This lane is the most promising, as well as anything that goes through these tiles. But I am still thinking about whether we could have something that works with all of this. Sometimes you have a lot of words that start with jet, for instance, but Y creates problems. As well as the fact that we're so stuffed up with consonants. So we have two options, actually. We have joy over here, which is even better, because it leaves the A at the bottom open. Joy for 36, J for 26. So joy is going to be first choice, J is going to be second choice, and then we should be really close to a bingo, depending on what we draw, of course, but drawing two tiles into E and RT blank, our chances are probably pretty good, unless I just get the Q or something. And then it's just a matter of seeing if the positions remain open. So we'll find out about that in just a moment. But it's really nice to have two clear places I can go that do the job I want this turn to do, which is get rid of some of the heavier consonants and score decently enough to remain ahead. Or at least on pace if my opponent hits me with something really hard right now. And so I'm feeling quite good about my current situation. So yeah, we're going to get hit with bundles. Notice that this is going to restrict the amount of space that we have if we are setting up for a bingo the next turn. We likely wind up with something like through this lane, or slightly less likely through that lane, but we're beginning to lose some of the space that we have. We're nearly tied right now. Let's just score and remain ahead, and now we have a really good rack. This should be pretty much guaranteed to hit something. I already see things like a stingier through the eye. So that's something to look at. We would want to look at something that hits both doubles down to the end if we can. That might be a little bit trickier to do, though. So, for example, you know, it's very easy to hit one of these. You would have, like, if you play something like entering, at least the C is no longer available for centering. But ideally, you'd like to hit both. And get a ×4 on the doubles here. Nitrogen. We actually do have it. So, nitrogen is easily going to be first choice. The play is going to be like that. 82 points. Way better than anything else we can get, I think. Unless we have something that's going to end with I, which is usually pretty difficult, even with letters that are as good as the ones that we have right now. Would likely be something like an I ending, or... no, we're definitely doing nitrogen. No question about it. And that's going to put me quite a ways ahead now. Not very safely ahead, but as you can see, a lot of the more volatile stuff in the bag is gone already. X, Z, J are all gone, blanks are all gone, S's don't really have much of a place to go. There's only one remaining S, and the S's are no longer opening up huge lanes from the shape of the board that we see here. So, main thing we need to do is not lose to the Q. Losing to the Q can take many different forms in this game. Sometimes you can lose to the Q by being stuck with it, with no place to go at the very end. And sometimes you can just have your opponent hit a massive spot with it. That seems to be the biggest risk at this point. None of the other stuff in the bag looks especially sticky. As long as we just play well with whatever it is that I'm holding. So yeah, currently I think the best thing would probably be doing something like wider. That diversifies our tiles quite a bit. Also opens up some additional spots that allow the Q to go down, but which do not allow my opponent to score like crazy with it. It does open up a big series of lanes down on the left column, and of course upper is just going to take it, so never mind, that's just going to be totally academic. I'm looking at something like weighted. It would keep II, which is terrible, so maybe not. Something like wide, 18 points. Weighted is 31 points. That's a 13-point sacrifice to not keep II. And of course that would take the R or N at the end as well. So yeah, let's leave the U open in case there's a low-scoring Q play that's going to go down there. We can also be considering stuff like Wadi, or let's see if there's going to be anything better. Ideally, we get rid of the W and some of the duplication there. So, you know, maybe something like this is actually pretty good. 18 points. Yeah, it does remain vulnerable to something like QAT here, but I don't think I mind that. We can stay ahead of that. So that looks best right now, but let's just inspect this carefully. Because something like Wadi down here is 23, also doesn't open up as much for something like Q. You'd still have QAID here, and QU plays over here, Q plays over here. It's not going to stick to Q, and that's fine, that's not the objective. The objective is to make sure the Q, which we've just picked up, has places to go down that are not super dangerous. Now, of course, we have the U. We need to think about what to do with it. The priority is going to be to get rid of it as soon as we can. So, easiest thing is something like Quid here for 14. We'd be keeping another I for additional parallels beside the Q. What do I mean by dangerous? So right now, as you can see, I'm ahead by about 80 points with my opponent's turn to go. So realistically, I'm ahead about, you know, say 50, 60 points. I don't want to create opportunities for my opponent to make a sudden big swing or comeback. And thankfully, most of those opportunities are gone at this point. So it's kind of like in sports, where if you have a big lead, you aren't necessarily concerned with just extending that lead. What you're concerned with is making sure disasters don't happen. So you start playing a little more safely, a little more defensively, and thinking about where your opponents could score that allows them to catch up. How can you know if they can come back? So if you look on the right side, where it says a number of tiles in the bag, you can see 8 tiles in a bag and 15 tiles that are unseen. So 8 of those are in the bag and 7 of those are on my opponent's rack. So you know what tiles have not been accounted for so far, and you also know which spots on the board are still open for potential plays. And so if you look at the bonus squares, like the ones that multiply letters or the ones that multiply words, you can look at them and understand what the spots for the highest scoring potential are going to be. So I'm going to dump the Q here for 32. That's going to work out pretty well. I draw the remaining S, which is great. So you can't see their letters, but you can see the tiles that are not on the board. Because you know exactly which tiles are available at the very start of the game. It's always the same 100 tiles. And so right now, I can't see what's in my opponent's rack, but I can kind of make an educated guess about what might be on his rack, based on the fact that I know that these 13 letters are still remaining to be played. And when you play at the tournament level in person, this is also information that you have available, because when you play in person, what people do is they actually have pen and paper and they cross off letters as they go down on the board. And so you know at the very end, if you're paying attention, you know, how many A's are left, how many S's are left, things like that. And so yeah, you do normally know that if you are keeping track. Even on a pen and paper score sheet. And you're absolutely allowed to do that, and all of the advanced players do that. Because the other thing is that at this level of play, everybody knows by memory how many of each tile are in the bag. Everybody knows there's 4 S's, 1 Q, 1 Z, etc. 2 blanks, 12 E's, all that stuff. And so even if you're not keeping track with a checklist, you're still able to look at the board and count manually, and you're able to figure that out. It's just much, much easier if you do keep a checklist, of course. And so yeah, I hope that's helpful and that it answers your question. And do let me know if you have any other curiosities here. I love the idea of having, if you have a T to play through, you would have a diskette. We don't have a T to play through, it's just a bit of a fantasy play here. There's one T that's unaccounted for, but there's no way it's actually going to open up with some location like that, so. So right now I'm probably going to see if I can... Ooh, unbooted. Unbooted, what do we think of that? That almost ties up the game, so we need to make a very careful decision here so I don't lose a turn. Like, since I'm not sure, if I have a... what is it? If I have a decently scoring play that allows me to stay ahead, I likely will not challenge this. I'm not 100% sure about this. And yeah, a boy, that's okay when you play with a physical board. Like if you play with the kit that is just the store-bought Scrabble kit, it does tell you how many of each tile there are as well. But at this level, everybody has it memorized, for sure. And of course, when you play with... when you play online, you can see it on the right side in the box as well. And now the bag is empty, so we actually know exactly what my opponent is holding. And so I have to plan around that accordingly and see if I can make a decent play to just get out of this situation and hopefully win. So yeah, I think I'm not going to challenge unbooted. I was thinking, is it like unbooted in terms of, you know, not wearing boots, or is it unbooted because you like haven't booted into Windows or something? But I think I have to leave it because I cannot risk losing a turn at this point. That might lose me the whole game. And I think I can stay ahead by enough that I should not need to challenge it anyway. But it's a bit of a difficult call. So I'm looking currently at where my opponent can go in terms of how much he can score. He can score pretty well with the M over there. And so there's some incentive for me to try to take that spot first, something like a D or a T or something like that. But then I would need to think about where to go with the K afterwards, and I wouldn't want to make sure that I have somewhere to go. So when I have somewhere to you know, play something like Seek, for instance, or Eeks, yeah, you can follow that up with Eeks over here, and just trying to see, and you know, Geeks down here. So I'm just mapping this out right now. I've got 10 minutes to do this, so I am in a decent position. So let's say I've got 16. Then I'm looking at 381 and 16, and that's going to be 397. And then I've got 2 spots to go after that. Got Geeks over here. Geeks over here, which scores 10 points better. But let's say this is the absolute floor. And you'd have something like this. Normally I'd just be doing this much faster in my head, but I just want to demonstrate it. So minimum 409, because you would have Geeks, Eeks, etc. Main thing I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to deny a big play with my opponent's M, because if my opponent plays here with the M, that is one of his best scoring opportunities. I think I win the game if I play Tide, or Diet. Diet is even better, it's plus 18. Let's do it. So it's actually plus 18, it brings us up to 399. Geeks gets us 12, Eeks gets us 22. And then now we just see what my opponent does. And a boy, that's okay. Now that I'm no longer able to challenge unbooted because I've already played it, now you're allowed to spoil it. Please don't spoil anything while plays are still being considered. There is also a command in my chat that allows you to look things up. So as you can see, unbooted actually is a word. And so we know that it is valid in the dictionary that we're playing. But yeah, you're free to use the lookup, but don't look anything up while I'm still considering it, because I don't want to accidentally cheat with the help of the chat. But you're free to tell me what I missed after I've missed it, or if I make a mistake. So that's usually the etiquette for a lot of the Scrabble channels. Especially the smaller ones, because, you know, all of us do want to read chat and answer your questions and so on, but we also don't want to be accused of cheating. So you got 22 down here. I think that's going to be the best available play. But the important thing is that I have 2 plays that are nowhere even close to touching each other, which makes it unlikely that my opponent is able to block both. Because he'd have to play something like down here in order to block both spots, and he also has to score, and so I don't think he's going to be able to do anything like that. Right now, one of the better plays for my opponents would be to go down here with something like MAM. That would be 18 points. No, not enough to win it for him. Not even enough to tie it, in fact. Or not even enough to tie to score this turn, and then I have initiative after that. With 2 available spots. So I'm pretty confident at this point that I should win, unless we have something that really blocks up, or even more unlikely, something that scores with all of the remaining tiles, which I don't think will happen. But I just have too much flexibility in terms of places that I am allowed to go, so feeling pretty good about this one, especially after we just got killed in the first game today. And so yeah, we'll just wait for that to come in. And we'll see how it goes from there. And depending on the pairing times, I don't know if we'll have time to properly look over this one either. But we'll take a look. I mean, we revealed the main thing that I was wondering about the last game, which is that I missed Faintest when I was staring at Faintest. And yeah, so my opponent's just going to take the loss here. I think he knows that that's going to be it. Assuming Anna actually does take the S, I'm pretty sure it does, yeah. And yeah, he's going to do the challenge just in case, because he gets that for free. And just going to wish him a good game, and that's going to be a win. Okay, so that one looks pretty decent. I'm just going to check if I have much time to look at this before pairings come up. So I just have to check this in the back end. And yeah, let's look over this while we have time. Until we hear otherwise from the directors. And thank you for the GG from Meg. Okay, so let's do a bit of a look here. And yeah, my opponent was just kind of telling me, I'm not displaying the chat just for privacy reasons, but my opponent was telling me that he wasn't really sure about unbooted either. But it did turn out to be valid, so... But I was in a situation where, because I was ahead and because I could still pretty much guarantee a winning route, there was no sense in challenging that. When point spread was not on the line. You know, I was thinking 5 with the 5er hook here. I don't know why I didn't just play 5er from the start, given that I was looking for stuff like that. I was looking for 5ers, specifically. Yeah, about 10 points. I think I was just trying to leave myself the hook, but that's probably not right. I find that this early in the game, I actually have this bias of undervaluing these 2 vowel leaves, even though you can actually draw pretty safely into them, you know, relative to that point sacrifice. Maybe. Yeah, A Boy That's Okay, I did see that play. It scored at 10 points less than the play that I actually did make. So I played something higher scoring. I was going to win either way, but I decided to play for the additional 10 points instead. I can show you that if we eventually get to the analyzer. Get the analyzer to the end of the game, rather. So yeah, great find with my opponent there on a tricky rack where he's staring at his Z with that. Wow. Hang on, let's click through this stuff properly. Okay. I missed airfares. Okay, that's a hard one to spot. And I was looking at air too, as you can see. I just didn't really think about the F there. The error prefix is really quite flexible. I should have actually taken a look a bit more closely. But yeah, I was already waiting for stuff like a T for Arietas and things like that, and I think I just had a bit of tunnel vision in terms of what I can use as the 8th tile, and I didn't search hard enough for something fairly easy to spot like airfares. Swath would have been quite nice there, and yeah, I guess he's mostly just trying to save that S there for some nice play. Oh, I see what's going on here. That's he's kind of keeping this in mind for a Z parallel. And yeah, Olestra is going to go down. Oversalt was the thing that I didn't see, but I doubt I would have played in that position anyway. And we did see stuff like... oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Refloats, floaters, floriets, I think. Floriets. Forestal we saw, yeah. Forestal was the one I was actively considering there. Not actually great. But I'm happy with Olestra despite the really risky situation over here. And yeah, boy, that's okay. I'll show you what I was talking about when we get to the end of this game. I don't think I actually knew Honans, did I? I should, because I have at some point looked at all of these 5-letter words with these 4-point tiles starting them. That's one of the more basic lists to learn as you're developing as a player. Didn't think about this word. That's another one I should have known. As a tree, much better, 43 points. But that scored decently. I'm glad I found that. And I was thinking all along that if I keep E's, that I'm still able to play there, so... Don't like the OEE leave at all, but... we took it here. We got Zins, we got Zinnias. And yeah, as you can see, my opponent probably wanted to do some kind of parallel with Z over here, but just didn't draw the E to make that happen. And Ely, why didn't I think about Ely? I was looking for Y endings there. Why didn't I think about Ely? I don't know. Sometimes I talk about wanting to find a certain kind of play, and then I just don't even look at it properly, so... Yeah, kind of a blunder there. I mean, Ely was exactly the kind of thing I was trying to look for. Yeah, lots of things you can do with the X. Nyx down there, of course, restricts a lot here. You don't really get much back playing beside it or even below it. Just seeing if pairings are up yet. Just one moment. So yeah, I will actually need to speed through this quickly, but I'll go to the end. We might come back and look at it carefully later, but I'll just show a boy that's okay what I'm talking about. So I played Eeks here. There were a lot of other places we could go, but I found the highest scoring play for 22 points. Geeks down here would have been 12, and that would have been the 4th highest scoring option. Along with Seek on Koi. Ski over here, which is another way to spell skiing. So, yeah, we'll be playing our 3rd game in just a moment. I don't think I had anything really critical I wanted to look at here. Oh, look at that Dedicate extension. Didn't even look at that. Integrin. Yeah, that's a fairly... Well, not common, but, you know, it's one that I would have seen before. Anyway, let's just hop into the next game. So here I'm playing against an opponent who usually plays in the Collins Dictionary. Today we're playing NWL because she's doing some tournament preparation, I think. Okay, so first rack here, RS, and this thing will have to be a consonant. Rosette, no. I might exchange off the vowels here if I don't see anything quickly. No, no, no. Yeah, it's just going to take me a moment here to see if we can find anything here. I feel like there is something, but then I can't find it. There are definitely a lot of things that go through an 8th tile that I can see. Like lots and lots of words that go through an 8th tile that I can see. But as first mover here, I think we dump OEE. And either OEE or E. I think maybe keeping the O might be smarter. Change 2. Change 2 is going to make it look really obvious that I'm trying to bingo, though. But I think I want the flexibility of that O, so let's just change... Yeah, let's look at this carefully. Let's make sure I'm not missing something. I think I'm probably missing something. Okay, picking out the Y here is not going to be great. That's not what I wanted to see with a 2-tile dump, but there is this saying that you hear among some players, which is that if you have a Y on your rack, the rule of thumb is that you actually do have a bingo and you're just not going to find it. Hosiery. That is how you spell it, right? I think so. Let's see if there is anything else that's going to go down here as well. Hosiery would hit MY down here. Let's make sure my drawing tool is on. Not a great position to be doing that, of course. Serotini, I don't know how to pronounce it actually. It's the same kind of set as like serotine and a whole bunch of other things. It would go down like this. It would be in a much less risky position. 62 points there. Hosiery, a bit more dangerous, but yeah, I don't like that. Bonus square placement over the vowels. 75 there. This is a little more risk averse. The main thing here is just through the E. Do we sacrifice 13 points for that position? Or do we try to look for something that goes down further, or for that matter, something that's going to parallel a bit better? I think we try not to spend too much time on something like this when it's a fairly easy to see rack. We just go with this. It's very low scoring, but also relatively low risk. It opens up a lot of stuff early in the game, but that's going to happen when you bingo early in the game. It's not going to open for anything that's going to kill me right off the bat. But it's hard to make those decisions, like when you're this early on. But I'm thinking, you know, we make a 13-point sacrifice there. Am I really 13 points better off positionally than it would be here? And that's the kind of thing that you need a mix of simulation and wisdom and experience to answer. Okay, so we have this spot here beside the O. If we want to, you know, just unduplicate a little bit, which we should probably be doing. Likely my objective here will be to try to unduplicate and also maybe get rid of some of the more awkward stuff currently on the rack. And so we'll see if that actually turns out to be the case. Also, I totally missed Strategy's message much earlier about diets. Sorry, we didn't acknowledge that. And yeah, we have Jarell over here. I think we just go with our original idea, just go what over here. Can we have outpave? Can you outpave somebody if you are dropping some pavement on them faster? I don't know. Hard one to see. I somehow doubt it. Like sometimes with the prefixes like this, you do have to consider this carefully and try to reverse engineer whether it's a plausible word. I don't think it is. I don't think you can out-vape somebody either. Way too new an idea. And yeah, I'm actually still kind of thinking back to the previous endgame because what Strategy says in the chat is actually quite a good suggestion. Just overvaluing the S in the endgame here. Currently just trying to see what we can do here. O is the only thing that's going to go directly under the J, so that's not going to give me what I want. We can actually just go vape somewhere, maybe. Or pave, but vape would be well defended against the triple on the left side. I feel like this actually is something, or close to it. It's not quite Viator. It is... There's something that looks like that, though. Maybe I need an S to go with it. But yeah, we'll try to get rid of the other V here as well. And yeah, there's something close to this. I'm probably just thinking of like Feitur from the F rather than something that's actually from the V. I mean, it's also various if you have the S instead of the T. I'm probably thinking of something like that. So we will see. I'd like to get rid of the V and the U if I can. But I might not be able to do so. One thing I can do is just dump off a whole bunch of stuff at once. That would keep U, which is not really the tile I want there. I mean, I can also do Virtue over here. The spelling looks strange, but I assure you that is valid. And then you have two V's just blocking off the whole left side now. Keeps two vowels there, but we're going to draw acceptably into that. I'm still looking at this if we eventually have something that will go over to the X. But currently, not really. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Look at that. Quadratic for 130 points. Very nice. So, that's a game winner of a play right there. Let's see if we can play catch up with that. It's rare enough already that you see plays that are 9s through 2 disconnected tiles, and then to have that hit both doubles and use the Q and score 130 points, this is a great play. Absolutely fantastic play. The nice thing about quadratic is I think it actually does take an S if we know our mathematics. The C is going to kind of be in our way here. I think we'll probably just go with something like Mocha or Mooch. Or Mocha would be a little more open in terms of keeping right side lanes open for me to hopefully come back someday. Don't really like keeping the G here, though. Don't like keeping both O's either. I think we are going to go Mocha. What a play, though. And yes, Mang, that is very well observed that SpongeBob is also quadratic. Or at least quadrangular. SpongeBob doesn't exactly have some curves, but close enough. Yeah, that's a fantastic play. That's one of those that you remember and talk about after the fact. Okay, so looking at this, we have some potential stuff that can go down here. I'm a little too heavy on the vowels right now, so I do want to get rid of some stuff. And yeah, let's see what we can do. Right now it's just a lot of rebalancing, and we just fight as hard as we can to catch up. You know, I mean, you have some words like OG, for instance. There's still 7 E's left in the bag, so I don't feel too bad about dumping all those E's at once. It does kind of block off the lane off Mocha, though, so maybe that's not great. Something like OG, not great either because of the way that it creates that massive opening by the O. And yeah, we'll just see what we can do with this. Because right now, I am way, way behind. Very difficult to scramble back from a play like this, but at least it's fairly early in the game. One issue, though, is that both blanks are gone. The bingo potential currently is not what I would like it to be. I do have 3 S's remaining, but the S is only really useful for hooks along here, and sorry, not even there, but along here on the bottom row, or second to the bottom row, row 14. Like those would be the potential S spots right now. Notice that stuff like this actually does work. We're keeping way too many vowels into that, of course, but the fact that virtue takes an E at the end is something we can still take advantage of if we're doing some rebalancing plays. G plus 4 vowels, though, likely won't get me anywhere useful in the near future, so. Okay, we're going to have Bop over there. We're going to leave that open in case we can use it ourselves. Again, I'm a little reluctant to be opening this spot. What we can do is we can go GEE, and then, because I have both the A and the O, if I draw a nice consonant, I can tag something on top of that. If I'm not setting up for that, though, I should be doing GIE to keep the E instead of the I. Maybe even something like that. 25 points. AEO. Is that really worth going all vowels at the end? Not really, given that it closes off all these right side lanes as well, which is not what we want to do. Lots of E's in a bag. Let's just do this. Okay, great, because now we can do stuff like Zona for 74. That's exactly the kind of play that I need to do. So we'll see if that actually remains open. I think it probably looks too obviously like a setup. Z is also going to go down here beside FE for Fez, although it won't score anywhere near as much. First choice here will be something like Zona for 74 points. Yeah, we're in the wrong dictionary, unfortunately, for ZHO. I don't think it's in this dictionary. Only the other one. Also, if we have an I to play through, we have anodizing, I think. Or am I miscounting here? No, there's no way. We don't have that many tiles. We don't have the second N, rather. We need the N and the I to play through. Anyway, Trickle, that's going to kill me as well. Let's see if I have anything that would have the D down there. Like Z something, D something, something. I don't think I have. So we are going to go Zona. And surprisingly, we still have the I and G combination, which makes the G much less useless. Yeah, but the fact that we have a D for trickled is something that's useful right now. This lane off FE is also still potentially good. The main issue right now is that we are swimming in ice, and that's not great. And yeah, we'll see as we get up there. Currently, yeah, I really do need to think about how we're going to get rid of so many eyes. You know, you could do something like this, that would open up the right side. It also doesn't take the S on the end, so unfortunately it does kind of close off that corner. It does open up a right lane at least. But there are probably better options. Liking kind of closes off the bottom, but it does keep the D for a trickle on the right side. If we want to start drawing towards that. Okay, that's going to get closed off. Never mind. So we're in trouble. I don't really want to block this off, but it won't really block off, actually. TA spot is still available even after this. It just doesn't score much, nor does this, and we are way, way behind. So, don't really like either of these right now. Yeah, it kind of closes off this as well. Don't like that. 3 S's though. We can create some S spots here, but I don't know. We're just gradually getting boxed in, unfortunately. And it's not really what I'm looking for. I think we'll do this. It does open up that second lane there without completely blocking off down here. Yeah, this is not great. And the B and a G do get in the way of a lot of stuff. And if we have a U to play through, I think we have Beguiler. Okay, what goes in front of easiest? And nothing that I have, unfortunately. I don't know if there's any single tile that goes on top of easiest. So anyway, we're just going to get really kind of wrecked in this game, but yeah, just seeing what we could possibly do here. Nothing down here. Nothing really down here. Let's see if we no longer have the D for that vaped idea earlier. Maybe something like this. Glib down here opens up the I. Keeps EER in a bag with 9 vowels, 11 consonants. Don't like that. That's just going to lead this to be definitely closed off, and then we're definitely very, very locked in. I don't really see what else I can do with this, though. And yeah, we'll see what else we can do in this position in just a moment. Let's go with that. Don't like it. We have Earthen. Earthen is not going to go down anywhere unless, of course, this miraculously remains open. So we'll see if that's going to work. Okay, just one moment here, please. Earthen. Oh, you know what? Earthen actually fits down here, too. Because I think TAE takes an S. Maybe. I'm trying to remember. Not all of the AE word. I think it might actually be the only AE word that doesn't take an S. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's something, like something AE. And I actually feel like we have the one that doesn't. But the thing is, does my opponent... Is my opponent also sure about that? That's something we really do have to figure out. Anyway, if we do have Earthen, it is going to go down here for 84. I doubt it's going to go down. I think it's, especially looking at the current bag that my opponent has, that Earthen will likely be blocked by either something here or a bingo down here. You'll notice from looking at the pool that my opponent's potential tiles are very bingo friendly. Okay, goated. I think we just go for Earthen here and see if that gets challenged off. I feel like TAE does not actually take the S. But this may be time for a desperation play, so let's... we're still not going to win. Like, we're 200 points behind right now. So we can just try to, you know, play for style. Let's do it. ORS at the end. Yeah, we're going to lose this anyway. We might as well just try to limp away from this one. I feel like it doesn't take the S, though. Like, I think I know this set, and that there are I think maybe one or two of the AE words here that really don't line up. So yeah, Spirit Wolf, now that I actually have time to say hello properly, I hope you're doing well. I see you come bringing many, many emotes. And so yeah, we're left with ORS at the end. That is going to do what for us? Not really much, actually. Just looking at where we can possibly go with it. Okay, a Tony down there. Yeah, that's definitely good. My opponent's going to cross 500. I mean, quadratic is the play of the game. That's the story here. That's really not going to leave us that much else to talk about. So let's see if I have a way to play off all of my remaining tiles. I don't know if I do. But we will look. And it's possible I don't. But we'll just see here. I mean, you got ROM over here. Unfortunately, quadratic is no longer in a position where we can just dump an S on it for style. Let's see here. Not really very many options for me, actually. I think I may, in fact, not be able to play off my tiles. We can go Nor over here and just dump the S somewhere else in the next turn. Does my opponent have somewhere to go with 2 tiles? UI. Perhaps not. If my opponent does not have somewhere to go with UI by itself, then we will actually have a second play with the S. And then we can find a good spot for it. So I think we will actually just go with this. Unless I see something very, very soon. On either my side or my opponent's. Yeah. I have the vague feeling I got away with something with the earthen positioning here, but we'll see. I mean, it wasn't like the game was going to turn on a decision like that either way. Just given how the board is looking at this point. So we'll just wait this one out and look at it at the end. I mean, pretty clear game here. We'll just be flipping through to see if we missed anything special. I think my opponent's going to realize very quickly that she does not, as far as I can tell, have a place to play off 2 remaining tiles. And so, yeah, QI is going to go down here, and I think this is going to be the 11-point spot that we see with the S, unless there is something big that I'm missing. And I don't think there is. I mean, well, no, 12 with QIS, obviously. That's a little bit better. Vapes and so is also 12. Yeah, let's just put the S there and get it over with. And yeah, so we have confirmed at the end that TAE does not take the S in this dictionary. I think it actually might in the other one, so... Yeah, as you can see from the Octothorpe symbol, it's not in this dictionary, but my opponent usually plays the other one, right? So I can see why I slipped that one past her, perhaps. But that was a bit of a desperation play at the end, so I'm glad I got that down just for the dignity of scoring some points. Let's take a look at this to see if there's anything else that we should be considering. Okay, yeah, right off the bat here. Okay, I missed eyesore and I missed oversee. So blank is Y, blank is V. I missed 4C. 4C I really should have seen. Or foreseen, for that matter. So yeah, 4C, oversee, eyesore, that's the only stuff there. But it's so heavy in vowels that was really difficult to actually spot. So a big miss for me as I traded in 2 at the very start. I did see hosiery. I didn't see a lot of this other stuff, but... Isometry, very nice. So I actually found one of the weakest bingos, but I think positionally I was okay with it. I was correct that hosiery seems to be the only 7 with that blank. Okay, so what else do we have here? This is my opponent's rack. She's going to lay off Jarell instead of Junko. And... yeah, I guess I missed this big parallel here with way to row weight, but Watt is not too bad with what I wanted to achieve there. And then Flux, yeah, that was going to hit me. I'd actually forgotten that it was hitting me that hard for 66 there, because at that point... Well, I mean, that did pull my opponent ahead, but I think plays like that were just so buried later on by that quadratic for 130 that there wasn't much else to think about. I should have thought about Vox there. It does, as you can see with that V there, this really does start to block off the whole top left. Maybe not what I wanted at the time, but... Yeah, what did I even go with in this turn? Vape? Yeah, okay, not a great play then. I ended up locking myself out a little too much. And those were not really the vowels I should have been keeping there. Fen, good play. Virtue, probably okay. Yeah, I was looking at Viator. I didn't see Saver, but in that position, I don't know about that. Quadratic here, 130. Even if you don't play quadratic, look at how many other plays there are here. There's Quadric, there's Quadriga for 68. Quadratic is the only thing that's going to spin everything here, though. And Quadrati, which of course just leads you to see quadratic. Yeah, and even these 6-tile plays are going to score like crazy, as you can see. So quadratic just kills me, and that's pretty much the game from there. Mocha, maybe it was not great. Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't really open up the bottom right, though. And I feel like I really did need to unlock the board a bit more at this point. I mean, the fact that the entire top left got closed off for the entirety of the game, just with the V, the V, and the Q here, was a major hindrance on anything that we might have wanted to do. Trickler and Tickle, yeah. Trickle, of course, is vulnerable to the D at the end, but I couldn't do much with it. OG'd in the previous play. I mean, I was specifically trying to set up the O or the A up top, so... Yeah, I didn't score much for that, but it did pay off with the Zona the next turn. Oh, didn't think about Diazo, but definitely preferring Zona instead. Very clear play. And yeah, lots of S's on my opponent's side. Should have thought about idling. But at this point, it's difficult to do much, and easiest is just the nail in the coffin. Village over here, glebe over here. Yeah, I guess at this point I was trying to still draw into something that would play as a bingo, and if I did that, I was thinking that that would just close off all available lanes. So yeah, Earthen, not actually valid because of TAES not being in this dictionary. But as you can see, there was nothing else I could do, really, once this spot for Earthen was blocked up. And that's pretty much it. So, huge loss there. That does happen from time to time. And yeah, that's going to be it for Game 3. That's all we'll be playing today. Like I said, I might go back and look over the previous games just very quickly. But let's see that. I don't know if there was anything in particular that I wanted to dig out. We did just kind of speed through it. Now let's take a look at that second game just to see what was being suggested at the very end there. It was the diets spending the S as well, and then the EKE or EEK that's strategy was talking about earlier. Yeah, it's EEK over here as a parallel. So EEK, and where was the other high scoring spot that he was looking at? And looking at peak. Oh yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Okay, that's a neat suggestion. So yeah, I was probably overvaluing keeping the S. Based on the plays that we had seen, in spite of the fact that the S is not actually adding that many points in either play. And that we should have aggressively favored trying to dump the remaining tiles for high-scoring plays and a nice clean sequence. So, yeah, glad we saw that and considered it. Let's take a look here to see what else we missed. We had everything that I talked about here earlier. We sped through most of this. Lots of stuff that my opponent could have done with bundles, but bundles actually does lock up a lot of this space pretty well. So I think it's actually fine. This play here with the Y and the blank, that is going to not really give me a bingo until this turn with nitrogen. And yeah, my opponent's going to find upper there. So this is the one that I was going to look at earlier, dedicate over here. We didn't find that extension, and that would have been really nice. A pretty big gain over the latest, over the nearest play, rather. And yeah, my opponent's fairly close to something here, except for some of these consonants like F and G getting in the way. And from here, it's just managing to play off the K. Unbooted, of course, is a scary, scary play. I was looking for something that would fit here like that. Keats, 32, much, much better than the kind of stuff I was looking at with those smaller plays. And, of course, we'd have plenty of places to go with IDE after the fact. I think maybe it's not as good as that diets sequence that was suggested earlier, but it's pretty decent regardless. And as you can see, my opponent doesn't really have anything better than this. That is the best play that's available. Oma on the bottom left. And so that does it for that. Let's take a quick look at game 1, which I lost. So we won 1 and lost 2 today. This one was a win. So yeah, let's look at this again. I don't know if there was much room here. This is just back in game 1, where we also got trounced, and we'll see if there was anything that we needed to look at. I don't think so. Wow, my opponent actually got out of this really interesting, or really dreadful situation here with 7 vowels. It's an exchange 6, keeping E. I was looking for something like Egypt. I wonder why I didn't see that. Probably because I wasn't that intent on keeping the U. Yeah, I was looking at a lot of these plays, and I remember keeping the J and regretting it immediately, because it was a while before we actually got a decent J play down. But something like this that keeps S, and also keeps S for some lanes extending out to right side, is much better, I think. Let's make sure we have the quadrangle on. And yeah, this was now invalid in this dictionary, but neither of us noticed. It actually is a good play, if it is valid. And let's see here. QIS is going to be slightly favored over just QI. It depends on whether we're thinking mainly about just closing up in this position and scoring points now to catch up slightly, or if we're thinking of potentially going here eventually. Because right now the S, as you can see, wasn't very useful on the right side. This was the turn where I was wondering why my opponent was staring at us so long. I think he was probably just deciding between Zig and Zin. It's very clearly going to be one of these two plays. And Zig, you score with the G. Zin, keeping the G like that, that's a really interesting decision. I don't know what the rationale for that is, to be honest. It's actually kind of surprising that he's not playing off the G, and I don't see the reasoning for that. It might be because of the G synergy with the L, because you can have GL go together in a lot of ways that NL does not. Maybe that's just a little bit of an optimization that he's making on that side, but as you can see, it's not really reflected in the calculation. So yeah, that was a long turn, and I guess that would have been the decision that was in play there. And yeah, Taj is going to be a clear play. A jar I didn't consider. Oh, because yeah, it does open up like crazy, but it does fork the board open a bit. I'm still playing from behind at this point. Jop, as I think, is fine as is, probably. I wonder why I didn't consider that. I was looking at the pH combination, probably because I was looking at words like graph and such, and I saw that it didn't actually fit. But I should have considered alpha, given that I was already thinking about the pH combination. The scores well also opens up. Much better than just closing off like this. If you close off like this, it just stays closed. Even if it does leave the S lane here, which otherwise would not have remained open. The S lane is going to be taken right away with adverts. And we come back with flingers. And so it's still reasonable at this point until we lose to this play here, which is a very good choice for my opponent to take that top line and close that down. So we lose Manifest, and instead we miss Faintest, which would have gotten me still within only about 50 points. And with only 4 tiles left in the bag, this was lost after monorounds, I'm pretty sure. And closest play, I mean, at this point the analyzer's not really going to be considering what we're opening towards, so. And yeah, Elm is, I think, definitely right there if you don't know what I'm holding. It completely closes off bingo possibilities on the left side. ARF was indeed the thing that was scoring the best, given that we've accepted a loss at that point, so. Okay, that's all. So that's going to be it for today's games. Thank you for joining me once again. It's good to be able to do a club stream after having had a few weeks where we were not able to run this due to some scheduling conflicts. And thank you so much for the follow, and especially thank you for the game at the end. This new follow from our opponent on the third round here that we walked through much earlier with that beautiful, beautiful quadratic play that some of you managed to see. And yeah, Bird Dog, you came in pretty much right at the end. We're going to be back with Mario Maker later in the week. 5YMM, of course, is starting up on Sunday, and we'll be streaming that starting Monday. I've been trying to slip in some extra Scrabble streams lately when I can as well during the late night slot, and then we'll see if that can continue at some point. Probably not this week, though. So, yeah, Bird Dog will probably run some kind of additional catch-up day to tie up some loose ends in Mario Maker tomorrow. And then usual kind of schedule, viewer levels on a weekend, followed by 5YMM next week. And it's going to be a blast. Do go to the website and watch the trailer. So, thank you for that. Thank you for joining me, everyone. And we will probably pass you on to somebody else streaming this game if somebody is on. So, stick around if you wanted a bit of a micro raid. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Very well.